Inside a glass-walled executive suite at FIFA headquarters in Zurich, the silence is heavier than any noise. On the screens, two flags have been lowered, replaced by the colors of nations that were never supposed to be here. In 24 hours, two titans of the sport, nations with 7 World Cup finals and 4 gold trophies between them, were erased. Germany and the Netherlands are gone. They were not beaten by rivals. They were humiliated by the very teams they once considered background noise. The ghost of 1982 finally caught up with the Germans. For 42 years, the German national team operated with a psychological cheat code during penalty shootouts. They were the executioners. They had scored 15 consecutive World Cup penalties. To stand across from a German goalkeeper at 12 yards was to accept your own demise. But on this night, against a Paraguay side ranked 34th in the world, that aura of invincibility did not just crack, it disintegrated. Kai Havertz stepped up and looked like a man who had forgotten the shape of the goal. Florian Wirtz, the golden boy of the Bundesliga, stuttered and failed. Then came Jonathan Tah, the defensive anchor, who blazed his sudden death kick so high into the night sky it felt like a metaphor for German ambition. Paraguay, a team that had been dismantled by the United States only a fortnight earlier, watched as the 4-time world champions fell to their knees. This was not supposed to happen. Germany does not lose on penalties. Until now, the statistics from that 90-minute lead-up tell a story of sterile dominance. It was a tactical autopsy performed in real time. Germany held 78% of the ball. They moved it left. They moved it right. They recycled possession with the rhythmic efficiency of a high-end factory. But in the entire first half, they did not register a single shot on target. Not one. They had the ball, but Paraguay had the perimeter. Paraguay sat in a low block so disciplined it felt like an architectural feat. They dared Germany to be creative, and the Germans responded with a bureaucratic shuffle. When Julio Enciso scored for Paraguay, it felt like a glitch in the simulation. When Germany finally thought they had rescued their dignity through a Jonathan Tah header, the VAR intervened. The goal was chalked off for a soft foul on the goalkeeper, a decision so contentious it sent Jurgen Klopp into a televised fury. He argued that such a goal is allowed every week in the Premier League. He was right, but the controversy is a distraction. The truth is that Germany had the lion's share of the ball and no idea what to do with it. Possession without penetration is just a slow way to lose. Simultaneously, the Netherlands were busy writing their own obituary. This is a nation that had reached at least the round of 16 in 11 consecutive World Cups. They are the perennial bridesmaids, the masters of total football. But against Morocco, the pride of Africa, they looked like a relic of a bygone era. Cody Gakpo, the man expected to carry the Dutch legacy, actually found the net in the 72nd minute. At that moment, the script seemed safe. The Giants would prevail. But then, the Netherlands committed the ultimate sin of the elite. They retreated. They tried to protect a 1-goal lead against a Moroccan side that no longer feels the weight of history. In the first minute of stoppage time, Ismail Saibari rose above the Dutch defense and glanced a header home. The equalizer felt inevitable. The Dutch hearts broke before the whistle even blew for extra time. During those final 30 minutes of play, the power dynamic shifted entirely. Morocco did not look like the underdog hanging on for dear life. They looked like the predator. At one point in extra time, the Atlas Lions held 82% of the ball. The Dutch, usually the protagonists of any match, were reduced to desperate clearances. It took a string of heroic saves from Bart Verbruggen to even force a shootout. But once the teams lined up at the spot, the psychological shift was complete. Even when Morocco's superstar Achraf Hakimi missed his effort, the Dutch could not capitalize. Yassine Bounou, the Moroccan keeper who has spent years staring down the best strikers in La Liga, made the crucial save from Somerville. When Ismail Saibari buried the winner, he didn't just celebrate a victory. He celebrated the end of an era. Morocco, ranked 6th in the world, proved that their 2022 semifinal run was not a fluke. It was a warning. To understand why this is FIFA's worst nightmare, you have to look past the pitch and into the ledgers. The governing body of world football is currently obsessed with expansion. The 2026 World Cup is designed to be the largest, most profitable sporting event in human history, featuring 48 teams. On paper, this expansion is marketed as the globalization of the game. It is sold as a gift to the smaller nations. But the underlying business model relies on a cynical, unvoiced assumption. FIFA needs the bankable nations to survive until the final weekend. They need the German television market, with its 80 million people and high-end advertisers. They need the Dutch sponsors and the global prestige of the Orange. When Germany goes out in the round of 32, hundreds of millions of dollars in potential broadcast engagement evaporate. The casual fan in Berlin or Amsterdam turns off the television. The commercial engine of the tournament loses its fuel. FIFA banked on a script where the underdogs provide the feel-good stories in the group stages before politely exiting to make room for the stars. They wanted the chaos of the early rounds to give way to the commercial safety of a European and South American elite. Instead, the underdogs have occupied the house. Paraguay and Morocco have not just won games, they have exposed the vulnerability of the traditional powers. From a pure business standpoint, a knockout bracket losing its biggest commercial draws is a disaster. If you are an executive in Zurich, you are watching your projected revenue figures for the quarterfinals plummet because the teams with the largest purchasing power are already at the airport. This is the financial gut punch of the century. But there is a deeper reason for the panic. The gap that once existed between the elite and the rest of the world has vanished. This is not because the giants have become significantly worse, but because the minnows have become professionalized. Look at the Moroccan squad. These are not players plucked from obscure domestic leagues. They play for Paris Saint-Germain, for Bayern Munich, for top-tier clubs in Spain and Italy. They share the same dressing rooms as the Germans and the Dutch. They eat the same nutrition, follow the same tactical drills, and study the same data. The intimidation factor is dead. In previous decades, a team like Paraguay might have walked onto the pitch against Germany with a sense of inferiority. They would have played for a respectable loss. No more. These players look the giants in the eye every weekend in the Champions League. They have shed their fear. And once the fear is gone, the only thing left is the football. This shift represents the decline of the European hierarchy. For decades, the World Cup was essentially a European championship with Brazil and Argentina invited to the party. That hegemony is cracking. We are seeing a new world order where Cape Verde, the smallest nation to ever reach this stage, is preparing to face Lionel Messi's Argentina. We are seeing Congo, a team that fought through unimaginable adversity, preparing to take on England. Senegal is no longer a dark horse. They are a legitimate threat to Belgium's aging golden generation. The aristocracy of football is being evicted from its own palace. The teams that were once guaranteed deep runs are now packing their bags after 10 days, beaten by opponents who refuse to follow the old script. This wasn't a series of isolated mistakes. It was exactly how the system was designed to work. The modernization of football has democratized talent. When every team has access to the same video analysis software, the same European coaching badges, and the same global scouting networks, the element of surprise disappears. Germany can no longer rely on being more organized than Paraguay. Morocco can no longer be outthought by a Dutch coaching staff. The tactical secrets of the West have been exported to the rest of the world. Consequently, the only remaining differentiator is hunger and execution. On these two nights, the Giants lacked both. They played with a sense of entitlement, as if the badge on their chest would do the work for them. They treated the game like a transaction rather than a fight. For the fans, the neutrals, and those who actually love the purity of the sport, this is a golden age. We are witnessing the most unpredictable era in the history of the World Cup. There is a specific kind of beauty in watching a nation of 5 million people like Paraguay dismantle a nation of 80 million. There is a visceral thrill in seeing the Moroccan fans turn a stadium in the Middle East into a wall of red and green, drowning out the corporate silence of the VIP boxes. This is why we watch. We don't watch to see a spreadsheet win. We watch to see the impossible become reality. FIFA may have built this tournament to be a neat, profitable procession of giants, but the underdogs have turned it into a riot. The 2026 expansion was supposed to be about including more teams to make more money. FIFA's logic was simple. More games equals more ads. But they didn't account for the fact that more teams also means more chances for the elite to fail. They have inadvertently created a meat grinder. The traditional powers are finding it harder than ever to navigate the early rounds. The minnows are now sharks. If you are a fan of England, Brazil, or France, you should be terrified. The last 24 hours have proven that no amount of historical prestige can save you from a disciplined low block or a clinical counterattack. The giants are falling, and they are falling hard. As we look ahead, the tournament feels wide open. The bracket is a minefield of potential upsets. Can Argentina survive the David versus Goliath battle against Cape Verde? Can England maintain their composure against the physical intensity of Congo? The old certainties have been liquidated. We are entering a phase of the tournament where the traditional labels of giant and underdog no longer apply. There are only teams that can handle the pressure and teams that cannot. Germany and the Netherlands proved they are the latter. They were weighed, they were measured, and they were found wanting. They were undone by the very thing FIFA tried to manufacture, a globalized game. The nightmare for the executives is the dream for the spectator. The commercial draws are heading home, but the soul of the tournament is thriving. We are seeing the birth of new legends. We are seeing the map of world football being redrawn in real time. Every time a nation like Morocco celebrates, a child in Dakar or Asuncion or Praia realizes that the giants are not gods. They are just men in expensive shirts who can be beaten if you refuse to blink. The power is shifting. The hierarchy is crumbling. The world is watching, not the names on the back of the jerseys, but the heart inside them. In the end, this is a lesson in the limits of institutional control. FIFA can expand the tournament, they can sell the naming rights, and they can schedule the games for maximum TV revenue. But they cannot control the 90 minutes. They cannot script the bounce of the ball or the nerves of a 20-year-old taking a penalty. They cannot prevent a small nation from believing they belong on the same stage as the kings. The giants fell because they stopped respecting the game. The underdogs rose because they had nothing to lose and everything to prove. This is the beautiful chaos that no amount of marketing can replicate. The stadiums will eventually empty. The flags will be put away. The executives in Zurich will look at their final reports and wonder where the German and Dutch viewership went. They will see the lower numbers for the final stages and call it a logistical anomaly. They will try to find ways to protect the big nations in future formats. They will talk about seeding or safety nets. But the damage is done. The secret is out. The hierarchy was a lie. The giants are not invincible. They are just the past. The underdogs are the present, and they are not going anywhere. The nightmare is real because the game is finally fair. The lights in the German locker room were the first to go out, followed shortly by the Dutch. Outside, the streets of Asuncion and Rabat are filled with people who don't care about FIFA's broadcast revenue or the commercial viability of a quarterfinal. They care about the fact that for one night, the world was theirs. They care about the fact that they looked at the most decorated teams on the planet and didn't see giants. They saw opponents, and then they saw them leave. The quiet question no longer needs to be asked. We already have the answer. The old world is dead. Silence is the only thing left.